Hey everyone, this is the Black Manga Critic here with another video for Watching Wednesdays. And last Wednesday, I really wanted to do the review that I'm going to be doing for this video, Welcome to the Ballroom. It hadn't come out yet last week, and I was trying to find like some versions of the video that was shown at Anime Expo, I believe. But I couldn't find that, so I had to wait until this week to, do the video on a Wednesday. So, this review isn't going to be particularly in-depth or anything like that, because I don't believe that this first episode has anything that's particularly, mind-blowing or anything like that. Really, I'm just kind of going to go into what I think is sort of, great about the anime in terms of certain things like the animation, music, characters, things of that nature, and then things that I generally disliked in the same vein. So the first thing that I kind of want to go into in terms of my what I like about the anime, what it does well, is the music. I think the music is probably the best thing about Welcome to the Ballroom. You would expect that an anime about dance would have great dance music or just music in general, and it does. There are some tunes that are really great. There's a moment where Fujita really gets the box, that waltz move, and Shizuku comes in and sees him complete the box, and that music plays, and it's a really nice sort of heartwarming kind of tune that really sort of resonates with you. If you're into practicing anything at all, and achieving your goal of mastering whatever it is that you've practiced. So I think that was a really good piece. I think the intro is pretty great. It's kind of got a nice beat to it, right? Because it's a dance anime, so you want an intro that really tailors itself to dance, and everything in terms of the heart of dance, whether you're an amateur or professional, has to do with beats and counts, right? So anything that you've seen on YouTube, with dance groups and TV shows So You Think You Can Dance and things like that, everything is about count and beat and all of those things, and so and rhythm. So if the song didn't have any rhythm, I'd be okay, well, what are the people that are working on the show doing? That wouldn't make a lot of sense. It kind of pissed me off, but they didn't do that, so I'm not pissed off about that. I really enjoyed it. It's got a nice, tune. It's something that you can, hum while you're walking to work or school or whatever. So there's that. The second thing that I really appreciated was just how much, just how clear it was that the animators really worked on the focal point of the episode, right, which was the box, right? So if we're viewers, and let's say whether or not we know about ballroom culture or ballroom dance and movements and techniques and things of that nature, it's great to see that the animators are really focused on making sure that they can convey just how intense the movements are for a beginner, and also just how precise the movements are, right? When we were watching Fujita try to complete the box the first time, he struggles a bit, but he's not particularly worried because it's his first time trying. He's not really thinking about it so much. But when he really tries to sort of master it, the first time when he tries to do it again and moves into the first move, he's really struggling. And that's something that I think if you're a dancer, so FYI, I love to dance. I've danced. I love to dance since I was little. I wouldn't say I'm a professional dancer, but I am someone that's very much so aware of dance culture. In terms of hip hop, contemporary things like that. And in my own time, I love dancing. I love going. I don't go to as much clubbing anymore, but I still love going out dancing. Parties, things of that nature. And I'm always the first one on the dance floor. I love to dance. I love to try out new moves, things like that. I love getting really excited with everyone else that loves dance as much as I do. I love dance. I love everything about it. So watching him, really sort of struggle with that move sort of reminded me of the whenever I'd practice, let's say like a hip hop move or something, whether like you do something like tutting or popping, locking, or animation, or even just basic like counts, stuff like that. So like that's it's a legitimate like thing that happens. And I think I appreciate that the anime went to such great lengths to show that. So that's it. The second thing that I liked about it. The third thing that I really appreciated was just how much like the people that worked on the episode understood about, right, like they understand pacing. For the most part, they get it. They know that like if you're going to write if you're gonna write a story and animate a story and all of those things, right, you have to get to the point as quickly as possible in the first episode. Otherwise, people aren't really going to necessarily be particularly excited moving forward. And probably the one anime that I could think of that sort of kind of dropped the ball on that a little bit, and that's not necessarily the anime's fault, but Boku no Hero, where the first episode is really kind of slow. There are some things that happen, but nothing that's particularly like mind-blowing in a sense, in terms of a battle or quirk usage or anything like that. It's relatively slow, so we're sort of waiting for the second episode to come out, not because we're excited for the second episode, but because we're wondering if anything exciting is going to happen as soon as possible. And I think like this episode doesn't drop the ball in that sense, right? We like see how the animation is pretty well done in terms of like slow movements and things of that nature and techniques. So we know that moving forward, when we see other techniques, those should be pretty well animated. The music that accompanies those techniques is probably going to be very good. So at the very least, I look forward to that aspect of the anime. I guess the fourth thing that I liked in terms of what was going on in story and characters and stuff like and stuff like that, like Sengoku. I like Sengoku as a character because he's someone that clearly takes dance very seriously. And I think like if you love dance, you take it seriously, right? Like there's some people, like you may see a person at a party, something like that, and they're like, they're trying to do a little bit too much, like like they're doing too much, but they take dance seriously. Like you can say like because they love dance, like regardless of if you're really good or really bad or whatever, like if you take dance seriously, like you understand like why like someone like Fujita pisses Sengoku off, right? Because it's like it's like the person that sort of comes to the party and is like, what, I'm gonna try to do this really like intense move, because I think I'm like the shit for whatever reason, and then I'm gonna fall on my ass and still be like, oh, it's okay, whatever, I'll get it eventually. And it's like, no, like this took, clearly like if like someone like mastered like a handstand or something like that, or flip or whatever, or like a particular pop, lock, or tut or whatever, that took that person quite some time to like really get that down. So I really appreciate that like Sengoku is like, yo, like one, if you're gonna take dance seriously, you gotta practice your butt off, and two, like you can't come in like looking like, oh, I'm just gonna master like something very quickly and then like be able to go pro. Like that's ridiculous. Like I never thought about going pro necessarily, but I always thought like I always liked like going to like dance studios and classes and things of that nature, because I knew that like I was going there to like practice. I was going there to not necessarily master a particular move, but to get it down as well as I could with my like talent level or whatever. So I appreciate Sengoku. Like he's probably my favorite character so far, and I mean really kind of the only character that I sort of care about, and that's going to sort of move into my dislikes about the episode. So basically, like in terms of my dislikes, I'm going to start with the characters because like I think that outside of Sengoku, all the characters are pretty boring. I don't remember them particularly well. Like I had like, but even before making this video and watching the episode, I had to sort of look back through the episode to sort of say like, okay, what okay, that's Tamaki and that's Shizuku and that's Fujita. Like the protagonist. You know what I mean? Like I had to like figure out what the protagonist name is because he's very boring. he doesn't have like any sort of personality in that sense. He's just kind of like, oh, I'm doe-eyed, and like I really like dance, and like I want to be a pro, and like but it's like the motivations are kind of boring. It's something that you haven't seen before. You've seen this in another anime about people who don't seem to have much talent but want to become great at a particular art form or sport or whatever. And like often enough, like in other shows like that, you tend to remember the protagonist because they have something that's particularly impactful. And this protagonist doesn't have, like Fujita, he doesn't have, right? Like the fact that I keep saying protagonist and not Fujita, like, should tell you something. Like it just doesn't, like, he just doesn't stick. He doesn't stick in your mind. It doesn't stick in your heart. And maybe that's just because it's the first episode. But I think like the first episode is important in terms of really sort of getting the protagonist and like the sort of impact of the protagonist into the hearts and into the minds of viewers. So for now, like I don't really like care about Fujita at all. I'm not really interested in like his goals or ambitions or whatever or anything like that. And the same goes for like someone like Tamaki or Shizuku or whomever else. Like I don't really care about like those two. Yeah, sure, Shizuku's kind of like girl who is clearly like has some sort of talent because like she might be as good as a pro, but she's not a pro yet. So we understand that. But after that, I don't really care. Like I'm not like super interested in like figuring out what her backstory is or anything like that. And the same with like Tamaki. Like I don't like, she's just kind of like a quirky sort of character, but she's not like quirky enough yet. And I understand that it's the first episode. Like it's the first episode, right? So everybody's gonna say, oh, you need to watch more episodes and blah blah blah. But it's like, dude, like it's like if you're creating any sort of like work of fiction, like you have to grip the reader like immediately. Otherwise, people are just gonna kind of be like, whatever, I'll move on to something else. So those two characters don't grip me. Fujita doesn't grip me. Sengoku's probably the only character so far that I've been like, oh, like this guy like looks like he really gives a shit about dance. And everyone else is sort of kind of like, whatever. And yeah, Fujita seems to want to dance, but we don't necessarily know if it's a love of dance or it's just a love of just finding something that he can love, right? Like, we don't necessarily know if he loves dance or anything like that. Like, even, like, when I was a kid, like, I loved dance. Like, I loved watching, like, like, people like MJ, who am I thinking of? Someone like a Misty Copeland, some other dancers, someone like an Adam Sabani, even though, like, Chris Brown is kind of, like, like, shady, like, his life's kind of shady, like, he's a phenomenal dancer, you know what I mean? So, like, those people, like, really sort of inspired me to say, like, hey, like, I could really do, like, I could really do this thing, and Sengoku kind of has, like, that same spirit, he's really, like, dance is serious, and you gotta take it seriously, and you gotta come hard every time you dance. So there's that. Another thing I sort of disliked was the animation at times. Like even like the intro, like the animation. Like sometimes the animation was pretty good. Like when they were showing, when they show the footwork for whatever dances that they were doing. Maybe it was like not necessarily a waltz, but it could have been like salsa, merengue, or something like that's like that's ballroom, right? But there were times where like everything moved sort of like flowed a bit too fast. And I think like that like while that does happen if you're not accustomed to watching ballroom dancers, especially when it comes to like Latin dancing, yeah, like things are gonna be fast. But like the animation was kind of like fluid in a way that was kind of awkward and like noticeable in a bad way. So hopefully they fix that. Hopefully like the animation for the dance scenes are great, and they're not like sort of like instances in like let's say like a Yuri on Ice where like the skating animation gets kind of crooked and sort of choppy and kind of annoying. But hopefully, they fix that up and the, dance scenes are phenomenal because if I'm going to keep watching this show, like I want the dance scenes to be phenomenal. I want the dance animation to be phenomenal. So there's that. And I guess the third thing I sort of disliked was that, and it's not to say that like they should introduce as many characters as possible or anything like that, But it's just like, you know, sometimes when they would introduce, let's say like his father or something like that. Like his father, like, I don't remember his face. You know, I just sort of remember when he appeared in the episode, but even then, not really. You know, and like, he seems to be, like, he's going to seem to be sort of, not an important character, but important enough character because, like, we need to know who he is in order to sort of know who Fujita is, right? Because, like, he's, you know, sort of taking care of him, you know, things of that nature. Like, he's supporting him financially. And we know that Fujita's pretty, he's not like dirt poor, but he's, you know, he's definitely not like, you know, doing particularly well in terms of like income or whatever, you know, like family income, right? So, you know, maybe like they want to introduce the father like in the next episode, just so we have like an idea of like who Vegeta is, like in terms of like interacting with people or whatever, because like he didn't really interact with anybody in this episode outside of sort of right, like the bullies, you know, and that wasn't even really an interaction. That was just like him sort of, you know, trying to take a beating or whatever so he can get the hell out of there. You know, but I'm not really interested in like scenes like that because like I'm not like, you know, I can't relate to that. Like I'm not someone that's gonna like, you know, just kind of be like, okay, beat me up and like, you know, and then be like whatever after that. Like no, like I'm gonna fight back. So that's whatever. But I do hope that there are other characters besides Sengoku that do interact with Vegeta that are as interesting as Sengoku or as close to as interesting as Sengoku. Because like yeah, we saw Shizuku and she's, you know, she's like that sort of like best girl kind of character, but really like a boring like best girl because I don't care like about who she is as a person or anything like that. And maybe that'll get better, but right now like whatever, you know. Her interactions with Vegeta, you know, just like basic like anime manga, like, you know, interactions like between like a boy and a girl, and you know, particularly a girl who's like who's clearly very comfortable with you know, her body and moving and like having interactions with guys that aren't necessarily sexual, right? And Vegeta's like, you know, he's just like kind of like I think the term like that they use sort of like in the past, like I want to say like a 19th maybe century term is like milquetoast sort of. Like he's just kind of like a, you know, he's just kind of like a milky sort of like blah, you know, kind of guy when it comes to interactions with right, with women, right, and girls or whatever. But like that, like I'm just tired of that. Like I don't care about that. Like that's annoying. Like I like whatever. You know, they're trying to sort of ship them like early on, and I don't really care. Like, I just want them, like, I really care about the dance, you know? So I want to see characters that are clearly very, very, very passionate about dance, and maybe Shizuku is very passionate about dance, but I don't necessarily get that in this episode. So, you know, there's that. I dislike that. And I guess that's pretty much it. Like, I mean, like, you know, this first episode was not too eventful in terms of, like, character development and things of that nature, but you know it showed me enough in terms of like the techniques and the animation of the techniques, and sort of like Vegeta's willingness to practice at the very least, and Sengoku's like, you know, real like desire to dance, and I guess like Shizuku's, you know, desire to travel abroad. So you know that at some point they're probably going to travel abroad because that's always like a thing, you know, like whether it's sports anime or anything else, like there's always like a travel abroad like segment or whatever, you know. So hopefully that sort of like desire in terms of like the dancing and the animation and all that stays strong. And if that, you know, if that's the case, like I'll keep coming back to this anime. But if that's not the case, then I'm gonna drop it, you know, fairly quickly. So this is a Black Anime Critic signing out on this video for Watching Wednesdays. And like, comment, and subscribe. You know, I'm always, like I said, in every video, like I'm always looking for you know, shout outs in terms of what you guys want me to watch, review, things like that. I've already got a shout out on Twitter from a guy, I want to say Stephen Baker, who wanted me to you know, look at Attack on Titan and figure out, you know, what I thought about it. And the funny thing is, like, I hadn't actually read or watched Attack on Titan at all. So I had just started doing that today, and I'm like halfway through the chapters. So once I'm done with the chapters, I'm gonna like put out like a general like in-depth review in terms of the story, how I feel about it, what I think it does well, what I think it doesn't do well, and that's it. So hopefully you come back, check out my other videos on the channel. Like I said, again, like, comment, and subscribe for more content. You can find me on Twitter at the Manga Scholar, and bye bye.